The Dallas Cowboys are staring down a defensive crisis that could define the next decade of the franchise, and the cornerback room is officially under the microscope because this secondary is a massive liability. If you aren't worried about who's lining up across from DaRon Bland next season, you haven't been paying attention. Before we break down every single target on the radar, do me a huge favor, smash that like button, share this with a fellow Cowboys fan, and subscribe so you never miss a breakdown. Can the Cowboys actually transform this secondary into a lockdown unit before the window closes on this roster, or are we destined to watch opposing quarterbacks carve us up when it matters most? The reality is that while we have stars like Bland and promising young talent in Kalen Carson, the depth behind them is a total minefield that could explode at any moment. We have names like Eric Stokes, Zion Childress, and Triquest Bridges filling out the roster, but let's be real. Do you actually trust those guys to step into a CB2 or CB3 role in a playoff game if the injury bug bites again? Absolutely not. This team is desperate for high-level reinforcements, and with defensive coordinator Christian Parker and secondary coach Ryan Smith now running the show, the blueprint for who they want is starting to emerge, and it's a blueprint built on familiarity, length, and raw aggression. We have to talk about the connections first, because in the NFL, who you know is often more important than how you play, especially when a new coaching staff is trying to implement a system at lightning speed. One name that is absolutely skyrocketing on the radar is Alontae Taylor. Think back to his days at Tennessee. He was coached by Derek Ansley, who is now a key part of this Dallas staff. Taylor is coming off a massive year where he proved he can be a menace in the nickel, showing a level of versatility that is rare in today's game. Whether the Cowboys want a physical presence like Nick Emenwari or a shifty technician like Jordan Lewis, Taylor fits the mold of a guy who can play the run and cover the slot without breaking a sweat. He's the kind of gritty, dog mentality player that this fan base has been begging for. Question of the day, on a scale of 1 to 10, how desperate are the Cowboys to sign a veteran cornerback this offseason to save this defense? Let me know your ranking in the comments below. Then there's the curious case of Eric Stokes. He spent time with both the Packers and Raiders, and yes, he has that direct link to Ansley from their time in Green Bay. We know this front office has a massive type. They love taking flyers on former first-round picks who need a change of scenery, hoping they can squeeze out that elite potential that made them top prospects in the first place. Stokes hasn't lived up to the hype yet, and his time in Green Bay was, frankly, a disappointment. But could a move to Big D be the spark he needs to revive his career? Or are we just looking at another project that's destined to fail and leave us high and dry in December? It's a gamble, but it's the exact kind of gamble Jerry Jones loves to take. Speaking of projects, we have to mention Asante Samuel Jr. He's had a rough go with injuries lately, specifically that scary neck issue that kept him off the field for a significant stretch. However, his history with Ansley back with the Chargers makes him a name that refuses to go away in the rumor mill. He finally got some snaps with the Steelers, showing flashes of that ball-hawk ability that runs in his family. And if we're talking about old friends, how about a reunion with Deshaun Wright or Chidobe Awuzie? Wright had a wild season in Chicago, lots of interceptions and pass breakups, but he got burnt more than a cheap steak on deep routes. It was feast or famine with him. As for Awuzie, he's clearly starting to show signs of decline, but as a cheap, one-year veteran insurance policy. It might be a necessary evil if the draft board doesn't fall our way. But what if they go bigger? What if they look at the guys without the direct ties, the pure mercenaries who can come in and fix this mess? Jamel Dean from the Buccaneers is a name that should make you sit up and take notice. He's been a staple in Tampa, but he's been banged up recently, which is a massive red flag for a team like Dallas that already has enough injury concerns. However, that injury history might be the only reason he'd even be in the Cowboys' price range. Then you've got Cam Taylor-Britt from the Bengals, the ultimate "I can fix him" candidate. He's been in and out of the lineup in Cincinnati, and while his highs are spectacular, his lows are deep enough to lose a season in. That inconsistency might scare off most teams, but for a one-year, prove-it deal, he could be the steal of the century. And don't even get me started on Rick Woolen. He is the quintessential McClay cornerback, long arms, elite speed, and a freakish athletic profile that looks like it was built in a lab. Seattle seemed ready to move on at the trade deadline, and while he would be an expensive acquisition, he is exactly the kind of alpha this defense lacks. We also have to keep an eye on Greg Newsome. He didn't quite catch fire in Jacksonville after leaving Cleveland, but he's a former first-rounder who fits this scheme like a glove. He's shown he can play at a high level when the environment is right, and with the Cowboys' pass rush, he might find himself in an interception paradise. Is it time to give up on the project players and finally trade for a superstar, or should we keep betting on the draft to fill these massive holes? If the trade market heats up, the name on everyone's lips is Trent McDuffie. The buzz is getting louder that he might be on the block after contract talks stalled with the Chiefs. McDuffie is a defensive chess piece. He can play inside, outside, and even slide back if needed. He's exactly the kind of elite talent that turns a good defense into a championship-winning juggernaut. And while we're looking at Kansas City, don't sleep on Christian Fulton. He's been streaky, but at the right price, he's a low-risk, high-reward gamble. He lost his job recently, but sometimes a change in scenery and a new coach like Christian Parker is all it takes to reset a player's mental game. If the trade costs for guys like Denzel Ward, who carries a massive $20 million cap hit and a worrying concussion history, are too high, Dallas has to look at the draft. And honestly, with the way the salary cap is structured, this might be the most sustainable path forward. If the Cowboys stay at pick 12, there is one man they should be sprinting to the podium for, Mansoor Delane out of LSU. The connection here is deep and genuine. Ryan Smith actually recruited Delane back when he was at Virginia Tech before Delane followed the path to LSU. Delane has publicly credited Smith as a major reason for his development and his initial commitment. He is a pure, lockdown corner with the speed to match anyone in the NFC East. If he slides to 12, it's a no-brainer. He's been compared to Quinton Mitchell, and we all saw how high that stock rose during the draft process. But Delane isn't the only option if the board gets messy. If they decide to trade down and collect more assets, or if they look to use their later picks effectively, Jabari McCoy from Tennessee is a powerhouse. He's coming off an ACL tear, which is terrifying for a position that relies so heavily on lateral quickness, but his tape against Alabama was legendary. He was a force of nature in that game, locking down elite receivers and making it look easy. If his medical's clear at the combine, he's a top-tier talent that could fall right into our laps. Then you have Avant Terrell from Clemson, a guy with elite inside-outside flexibility who just needs a better supporting cast to shine. Clemson's defense as a whole struggled last year, and Terrell suffered because of it, but the raw traits are still there for everyone to see. And keep an eye on the portal hoppers like Colton Hood. He's played at Auburn, Colorado, and Tennessee in 3 years. That kind of movement makes old-school scouts nervous, but his production for the Volunteers was undeniable. He stepped up when McCoy went down and proved he belongs on a big stage. Finally, there's Brandon Cece from South Carolina. He's a workout warrior who is expected to break the combine with his testing numbers. He has the height, weight, and speed that the Cowboys front office drools over. He doesn't have the most interceptions, but he rarely gets beat, and in a league where not giving up the big play is the goal, he's a valuable asset. There are other names floating around too, guys like Chris Johnson or Keith Abney, who might be targets if the Cowboys decide to trade out of the first round entirely to stockpile picks. But those top 5 prospects, Delane, McCoy, Terrell, Hood, and Cece, are the ones you need to highlight on your draft board. They represent the future of this secondary. The options are on the table, and the pressure is mounting. Whether it's a high-stakes trade for a star like McDuffie, a reunion with a veteran like Awuzie to provide leadership, or a franchise-altering draft pick like Delane, the Dallas Cowboys cannot afford to sit on their hands this time. The wait-and-see approach has failed us too many times in the past. This secondary is the thin line between a Super Bowl run and another disappointing January exit that leaves us all wondering, what if? The clock is ticking, the cap is tight, and the fans are officially losing patience. This off-season isn't just about filling a roster spot, it's about defining the identity of the Dallas Cowboys defense for years to come. Do we want to be a team that takes chances on broken players, or do we want to be a team that builds a wall that no quarterback can climb? The decision starts now, and the ramifications will be felt from the first snap of Week 1 all the way to the playoffs. Would you be happy with taking Mansoor Delane at pick 12 to secure the future, or do we need to see a massive trade for an established veteran like Trent McDuffie to finally fix this defense once and for all? The choice is tough, but the status quo is no longer an option. Let's get to work and bring that star back to where it belongs.